I'm Shirley Clerkin, the County Heritage Officer for County Monaghan in the Republic of Ireland. But obviously Monaghan is in Ulster and we work very closely with our partners in Northern Ireland, and we are a partner in this project, and I'm in the steering group for that project. And just to say what heritage officers are, because I think it's a good opportunity to promote the programme to people who mightn't know. The Heritage Officer Programme was established in 1999 by the Heritage Council, and as a result of that there's one Heritage Officer in each local authority or in each local government organisation across the country, and we work to engage with local communities, with agencies, internally with the local authority and externally to other agencies, to engage with people about local heritage, national heritage, global heritage, whatever it happens to be in your local community. Both natural heritage, archaeology, buildings, cultural, tangible and intangible. So it's a very, very, very broad brief. Very, very much about engaging people and their place together. So very relevant to the whole area of nature, people and food and agriculture. So Trish is a fantastic colleague. She's in a different organisation to me. So she's in the Ulster Wildlife, which is an NGO. And which button do I press to make it go forward? That one? Oh, right, okay, perfect. So, and I just thought I'd start with this because the project that we're working on is a cross-border project and a three-country project. It is in Ireland, Northern Ireland and on the Western Isles of Scotland. And it's called the Collaborative Action for the Natura Network. And we started it 2 years ago, basically with a lot of smaller project ideas that were coming together, and we joined them all together in a big consortium, which in itself was very difficult to do because we were dealing with agencies north and south and in Scotland, different NGOs, different wishes. So we did a lot of storming before we did any norming at all, as you can imagine, in group formation. So the Heritage Council Strategic Plan views heritage very much this idea of the glue that binds communities together, and that whole idea of connectiveness and giving you a rootedness to your place. And particularly in times of global change and climate crises and loss of resilience in our ecosystems, a sense of rootedness to our place helps us deal with other bigger issues and helps us deal with difficult decisions and how we might get around them. So to feel steady and to feel anchored is very, very good for yourself and for your community. Oh, excellent. I think I missed a slide. Oh, right. Hold on, is there? Back. Yeah. Down one. Oh, yeah, okay. So, you can see I haven't rehearsed very well at all. I did change some of these slides because it's impossible to give someone else's talk. I do not know what's in Trish's head. And I don't want to, actually. But, so who we are. So we're quite a large project, and we have 11 project partners based across, we've got 2 local government agencies. So we have Monaghan County Council, which is whom I work for, in the Republic of Ireland, and then we have Armagh, Banbridge and Craigavon District Council, which is in Northern Ireland. We have some NGOs, so we have the Golden Eagle Trust, whom I'm sure most of you are very familiar with. They're a fantastic non-governmental organisation focused on raptors mainly, but lots of other bird species as well. So they're helping us particularly with the hen harrier aspect of the programme. We have 2 research institutes or academic partners. So the Ulster University in Northern Ireland, and they're helping us with freshwater research, and IT Sligo, who are also helping with freshwater research and the whole area around mapping as well. And James Moran, whom some of you might know, was in IT Sligo when we started this project, and we wept when he said he was leaving and wasn't no longer going to be in our steering group. So, but we're very good. We were very lucky to get Dolores Burren from IT Sligo instead. And then we have AFBI, who are the Agri-Food and Biosciences Institute of Northern Ireland. Very, very good mapping. So they're helping us doing all the mapping for all of the sites. And, oh my God, I forgot Newry and Mourne District Council. Sorry about that. Newry and Mourne District Council, very important. And Scottish National Heritage. And then also we have the Ulster Wildlife, whom Trish Fox works for. And she's a senior technical advisor there. And she's extremely good and very good at working with other partners and mentoring. and Scottish natural heritage as well. And then we have the Argyll Trust. Are they there? Yes, the Argyll Countryside Trust in Scotland as well. So we've covered that. Oh, I'm going backwards, am I? Push. Okay, so this is what we have to do. So the big aim for the whole overall project is the restoration and the improvement of the conservation status of a number of EU habitats. And so we have to sort of get some of these habitats on the road at least to a favourable conservation status, which obviously is very difficult in the time frame, but if at least we can get the conservation measures in place and set up, the changes start to happen, that will be enough at the end of the project to prove that we're on that path. So our sites are all wetland sites, so we have freshwater wetland sites, we've got freshwater lowlands, so we have a lot of raised bogs, very small raised bogs, and then large blanket bog sites mainly. And then we have to produce 25 conservation action plans that are agreed with all of our stakeholders and agencies as well for 25 sites, plus species action plans, and then stakeholder engagement is fundamental to our project. So we're working on the ground and engaging with them in partnership with local community groups and one-to-one with landowners. So why, I suppose? Well, every single one of the habitat types that we're working on, they're all in unfavourable condition, according to the Article 17 reports with the Habitats Directive, and they're all declining and they're all getting worse. And it's very difficult to solve problems, which you'll see now when I show you some of the mapping on the cross-border sites. It's extremely difficult to solve problems, or that should say unilaterally. I did this last night. I've done this. So it's very hard to solve them on one side of the border and do nothing on the other side. We could be blocking drains on one side and not blocking them on the other, and it's absolutely pointless. So we really need to work together on these sites. And also to get new models, new partnership models for this size of conservation, these big landscapes that we have that are under a lot of pressures, and we need a different focus. And the Interreg 5A programme wanted to deliver specifically for wetlands. And I think that's because we really pushed them before the programming was even developed, that these were the habitats most at risk in our area. And we had several consultation meetings with the programme when it was under development that we wanted to see wetlands in there. And I know yesterday when you were talking about pushing forward to the next programme, how to get ideas in there, well, it worked in this particular instance. They did actually listen to us when they were planning the programme, the SEUPB. So that is the aim, of the overall collaborative aim, that there's actually a shortage of joined up services in border regions of the EU. And those are our project sites there. So you can see the Western Isles of Scotland, Islay, and then the Northern Irish sites, and then along the border. So I'm going to focus on some of the sites along the border between Ireland and Northern Ireland, and then some of the Scottish sites just by way of how we are trialling different approaches that are being used by other agencies. So this is the Maharavili if you're in Northern Ireland, or the Kilruski if you're in the Republic of Ireland Loch Cluster. And it's just outside Clones in the Republic of Ireland, and you can see the border here, running down here. So this is County Fermanagh in Northern Ireland, and this is County Monaghan in the Republic. And you can see the borders running nicely down here, past the lake here, and then right through the middle of this one, and then down we go. And so, previous to this, the agencies north and south haven't really discussed these lakes. And I have to say that one day I was on this lake with Peter Foss, Dr. Peter Foss, and I think maybe, was Patrick, were you there that day? With Patrick Crushell, we were on this lake about 10 years ago doing wetland and fen surveys. And we heard voices over here on this side of the lake. And we could hear Latin, shall we say. And we could hear various words being shouted on this side of the lake. And I said, Peter, say something in Latin. Shout out some scientific plant names there. So Peter started shouting out some, you know, whatever. I'm not even very good with plants. I'm not a botanist. But some, you know, science terms here. And next thing is these heads popped up on the other side of the lake. So the Northern Irish Environment Agency were surveying the northern side of the lake. And we were surveying the southern side of the lake accidentally on the same day, and neither the two had met, shall we say. So, so it was very interesting. So you can imagine the problems. So this is Dummy Lake, So it's a special area of conservation to the border here with Northern Ireland, and on the northern side it's not designated at all under the EU Habitats Directive. And as well as that, the mapping is inaccurate because this is the border. Now, unless the Republic of Ireland is trying to creep forward into Northern Ireland, which I'm sure we won't be allowed to do because this is Arlene Foster's constituency. Anybody who's from Ireland will know what I mean. We won't be allowed to do that. So we have a lot of difficulties with these sites. First of all, we have all the different agencies, north and south, that we're trying to get for each lake that we have to do. We have to deal with the northern agencies and the southern agencies. So we're dealing with the National Parks and Wildlife and the Northern Irish Environment Agency. Then we're also dealing with 2 sets of local authorities, one in the north and one in the south. Then we're also dealing with mapping agencies who have different maps and different lines drawn up to different borders. And then we have the issue of the designation of the directives not being applied in a standardised fashion on the sites. And then we have different planning regimes, north and south, where people are allowing agricultural development on some sites and not on others. So the whole thing is a bit of a mess, and you can see why it makes no sense whatsoever to treat these sites on one side of the border without agreement and without partnership. And at the moment we have a research project going on these lakes as part of our overall project with IT Sligo, Ulster University and the Agri-Food and Sciences Institute in Northern Ireland, where they're looking at the crayfish populations in these lakes. And out of 5 of these lakes, the crayfish has gone out of 3 of them. And the marl has completely covered with sediment and gunk, basically, from all of the deposition that's happening from the agricultural industries all around here. And like neither side have managed to do any cumulative assessments or anything. So you can see really why we need to work together. So this is another cross-border site which is much larger. So this is an upland site, this is the Quilca, and you can see here this is Northern Ireland, the Republic of Ireland here in County Cavan, and so this is a very large upland blanket bog, dry heath, and Quilca Mountain has an SSC here of 3,000, so a special area of conservation in Northern Ireland of 3,000 hectares, and then this much larger area in the southern, which has got another different name on it as well, just to add more complications to it, with another 7,000 hectares, and how to get these 2 sites to work together with all of these owners, and also the history that has gone on in this place, particularly in these very high upland sites, more so than the lowland sites, because during the Troubles, these were the areas that people didn't go into. These were the areas that people were practicing gun running and were hiding guns and had underground bunkers in and all of that kind of thing. This was all happening up in these sites. So your ordinary person didn't wander up here for a walk for 30 years, really, and didn't notice the changes that were happening to these upland sites because of that. And neither did the scientists in the National Parks and Wildlife or the scientists in the Northern Irish Environment Agency notice these changes because their scientists weren't going here. Because if you wander up along here, especially in the time of just paper maps, you don't really know which side of the border you're on. And if you're from a state agency, you're supposed to keep to your side. Well, you were in the past. You weren't supposed to be wandering over into the other person's jurisdiction. So there's been an awful lot of added complications on these sites that may not be the same further down the country. It's just an added complication, particularly for collaboration and sharing and trying to get work happening on the ground, because there are more suspicions than just your average agricultural suspicions. So one of the things we're trying to do, as well as working together on these sites, is to trial methods that different partners are using that we haven't been au fait with because we haven't been working together. So this is a method that Scotland are using, and it's for mapping large upland sites. And I'm not going to try to explain it because I'm not Trish Fox, okay? And but basically it's a new stereo imagery, and they use it for very large upland sites in Scotland, obviously because of the size of all of the highlands. And it's using an aerial imagery, and it's very good for detecting changes in habitat types. So our partners in Scotland have been using this, and we've been trialling it on some of our southern sites. So we've been using this now to trial on the Slieve Bay site to see if this collaborates with the work that we've done on the ground, and to see if we can then sort of try to use this method in other sites in Ireland, for example, or to use it ongoing for monitoring. So that's Andy Scobie with his, all his equipment, and I'm not going to try to explain that either. So, but I left it in for your pleasure. So that's basically what we're trying to do, trying to share and trial best practice and try new experiences and see if we can cut the costs, because never before have we had this amount of money in our area to do conservation works. And before we started, we didn't even have a ranger in Monaghan, and no national parks presence in our area. And only because we had done wetland surveys ourselves using Heritage Council money for about 10 years, we wouldn't have had baseline data even to contribute to this project. And it's only really now we have this, and in conjunction now with this project, the Hen Harrier project through the Department of Ag has really added great weight and credibility to the value of these upland sites for us. And also the Curlew Conservation Project as well has moved into our area. And those projects together have definitely lifted the feeling of value towards these sites by the average person in our area, because suddenly someone else, apart from ourselves, is saying, oh, this is a really interesting area, look at these great species and habitats that you have. We didn't realise you had all of this up here. And it really does actually help raise expectations, which is no harm, because we should all expect a good status and a good quality of habitat in our area for all of the ecosystem services that they provide for the local population. And so we're really happy to have all of these different collaborations happening at the moment. So this is Slieve Bay on a map. So this is Slieve Bay, which is in North County Monaghan in one county and in two counties in Northern Ireland. So it's in County Fermanagh and County Tyrone. So we've got lots of different local government agencies and then all of the national agencies that I described. And then we have a problem with our designations in that here's the border here. This is the large SPA, you see on both sides, which is designated for the Hen Harrier. And then this SAC is only in Northern Ireland for the blanket bog. Although there's tons of blanket bog on this side, it's not designated for that feature. So when we are adding up our our areas that we are improving for conservation status, we can work in this area, we can't count it towards our overall 3,000 hectare target. But we are working here anyway, obviously, because the whole site is a very important site together. We can only count the works that we do here. And it has a lot of problems, Slieve Bay. It suffers from fires every maybe 6 or 7 years, large wildfires, and that burn off the on-grazed fuel load as a result of land abandonment. And also we have a problem with illegal turf cutting in the designated area. So it's turf extraction and it's speculative turf extraction. So commercial extractors come in from Northern Ireland, cross the border here into the south, take out turf here, bring it back this way, or come over the border where it's basically backwards and forwards across here illegally with stealing turf basically from bits of land that aren't even theirs, and then they speculatively sell it. So they're destroying, the bog is actually being destroyed. And then we have some areas of forestry as well, which we're hoping to just try to stop the spread of the Sitka spruce across the march of self-seeding Sitka spruce across the landscape, and to stop the turf extraction, to stop the wildfires, and to try to get better management back on the site by blocking drains. Nest protection activities have started. So it's a big site. So we're very fortunate to work with Mark Ruddock. I'm sure many of you know him here. He's an absolutely fabulous guy. And that's part of the problem has been up until now, and probably and as we go forward, is the behaviour of populations like the hen harrier or any other mobile population, depending on where they see the best habitat to be in any particular year, or depending on what fire has happened in the last few years, they'll move as well, or where the best heather is. But because the quality of the site has been deteriorating, the hen harriers have been more increasingly moving towards the coniferous plantations, where there are obviously more predators and they're more at risk to nest, rather than nesting out in deep heather, because that heather isn't available to them. So we're trying to protect the nests at the moment, get rid of the predator threat, whilst fulfilling objectives for the hen harrier and the marsh fritillary as well. So this is a marsh fritillary site, and as you know, they can be hard to spot. Oh, sorry, wrong button. So I'd like you to note this picture. So this is a protected area, and that's a Northern Irish Environment Agency sign, and there's the turf that's been cut. Oh, sorry. Oh, back. Am I going the wrong way? Yeah. Oh, no, that's wrong way. Yeah. Sorry. Okay. Sorry, everybody. So this is a protected area, as you can see. This is in Northern Ireland. That's the NIEA sign, and that's the turf that's been cut illegally. And they only were able to put that sign there because they landed in a helicopter, because there's no road to get to there except through the south. If you see what I mean. So they had to land in a helicopter to put that sign there to tell people not to cut the turf. And but people cut the turf anyway, as you can see. So, I mean, the whole site is very, very, very vulnerable, and it is really the largest it's the largest nature site that we have in Monaghan, and we really do want to protect it, both for the water that it provides for us, for the ecosystem services, the carbon sequestration function that it has, and the wildlife values. And the only way we can do that as a local authority is to engage with all of these other partners, all the communities and the landowners. And it's a very complicated process, as you can see. It's not just as simple as us going out and talking to a local community, because there are a myriad of communities, IES, with different persuasions who may or may not want to talk to you for agricultural or political reasons. So this is Dr. Rory Sheehan, and Dr. Rory Sheehan works with me, and he is the Slieve Bay site coordinator for the Slieve Bay. So he is up on site talking to local communities all the time, talking to landowners, and working with our different partners on the site with regard to mapping, education, and really trying to engage with people. And he has definitely found that that one-to-one engagement is necessary. We can't just rely on sporadic interaction with the community to get any work done. It's a matter of really strong facilitation. And the closed roads have been an issue, and the B word in the introduction, or the name of this talk from Trish, I suppose refers to a few Bs, but the two Bs mainly refers to our border and Brexit. And people are very afraid that the whole area will be closed off again, and all of the roads up here were closed off with massive holes in them, basically. The army would come along and blow the hole up in the road and then place concrete bollards on either side of the road, so you couldn't actually cross or go on a circuitous route around. So people are very afraid of that happening. And as a result of that, as I said, people didn't go up, they didn't notice these changes, and now we're trying to address them. And now people are a bit worried about the thing that might be coming down the road, the Brexitation, or whatever we call it. Because they don't want that to happen. So at the moment we're trying a new engagement method, which is that we as Monaghan County Council want to work in Northern Ireland on a site that's owned by the Northern Irish Forestry Agency, and we want to block all the drains there. So because we're an agency in the south, we've got an agreement with the Ulster Wildlife, who are our partner in Northern Ireland, with the Northern Irish Forestry Agency, that we as a local authority in the south can work in Northern Ireland. So we're quite pleased about that. We're going on their land, onto Northern Irish land. So I don't know what the political consequences of that will be, but we'll see. And so I've left 3 slides in about ammonia deposition, just so people know it's happening up on the top of that bog. That bog, when you go into the middle of it, is kilometres away from any farm. And yet there's ammonia deposition on the top of that bog, which just shows you the real problem that we have that's now impacting on these protected areas, and which we didn't realise we had until last year when we were up there. And it's very concerning to us that now a site like that is being cumulatively impacted upon, and there's more and more new agricultural diversification happening in the surrounding land, mostly chicken houses and poultry and that kind of thing, which is obviously contributing to this. So how do we do our job whilst letting the farmers do theirs? And so that's ammonia deposition damage on sphagnum moss. So, and in the meantime then, obviously what we're trying to do is fix all of the drains to make sure that the sphagnum moss layer can actually start working again. It needs water to reproduce, obviously, and that's what the peat needs to grow. So one of our biggest tasks is to start drainage works in the new year on a large number of sites right across the bog. And we've done all of our hydrology mapping, all of that has been done, and we're doing that on a cross-border basis. So we hope that we'll achieve results. But I just put up 3 slides: challenges, opportunities, and the future. So these are the challenges. I'm going to read them out. I've talked about them. The problems are, I suppose, that we have non-aligned designations and varying standards for national priority. So in Northern Ireland, some things are considered priority from their national point of view, and they're not in the south. And that's caused a problem for us along the border for different effort, the effort involved in conservation or dedicated to it. Obviously, habitats and species function at a landscape scale, and we're in a very much political landscape. The monitoring of mobile species populations, as I said, can be difficult, crossing border roads. We have a lot of illegal activities in a very much contested area, and that does cause us a lot of problems. There's a lot of criminality in our area, as you've probably seen recently, and that is very prevalent. It's always there. People watch everybody. It's a very suspicious kind of place, and that has only increased with the recent in the last year or two. And so that's why I'm saying that any locally led scheme that we might move to in an EIP or whatever would need additional facilitation, community, individual facilitation support. It really, really would, to bring together people at a non-political level to try to make real differences to these landscapes. And opportunities then, well, obviously Ireland, unlike Slovenia, is in one single biogeographic unit. And so, I mean, obviously we should be all working together on an all-Ireland basis on these things. I think there's a lot of technologies and innovation that we can share with Scotland even and Northern Ireland and trialling solutions. We definitely need capacity building and sharing approaches to the same EU directives, and we seem to be getting different standards applied. We hold bi-yearly meetings with both government departments. So we meet with the NIEA and the National Parks and Wildlife Service on a bi-yearly basis to talk about the practical difficulties that we have implementing our project. And that's a very, very good, useful arrangement, because it really gets the agencies who are mainly based in offices to see the actual reality on the ground and to try to understand it. So at the end of the project, at least we might have some idea of how we can actually address these challenges. And then obviously bringing people together for natural heritage or cultural heritage stabilises communities, very much so, and that is proven, socially proven, that really does stabilise communities. That's another reason to do this conservation work. And then for the future, people are concerned that Boris Johnson might change the environmental standards, and that would make a difference for us along the border. They have said that they won't, but there's a fear that they might. So that would change things. The funding, the next Interreg round where we have got our money is called Peace Plus, and it will have an Interreg, it will have environment in it. So hopefully we can either move to that or try to maybe look at an EIP. And then we need to find solutions, cross-border agreements on planning with local authorities better, to come to some sort of planning arrangement, cross-border partnerships, where we are actually tackling specific issues on the sites. That's the last word from Trish Fox. Funding structures allow people to work cross-border in conservation are vital, even more so post-Brexit. That's Trish Fox's last words. If she was here, she'd entertain you greatly. You know, she's worked in Australia, she's worked with big reptiles, she's good. I'm not, I'm just from Monaghan. But there's my contact details if you want to contact me. And I really do believe this statement from the Heritage Council strategic plan. It's not often you can agree with a strategic plan, in fairness, but heritage simultaneously crosses borders and transcends differences to connect people through shared values, history and traditions. And I really believe that's very much should be part of our conservation work as we go forward working with farmers and communities. Thank you very much.